Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast, where we will explore the cause and effect of just saying yes in your everyday life or in business. I will dig into topics that are not just stimulating, but will challenge you to be better in everything you do. The podcast is based on the simplicity of saying yes to opportunities you might encounter every single day. I'm your host, Jim Riley. Join me in my first series titled Blue Collar Redefined. Welcome to this week's podcast. The answer is yes. Thank you for continuing to tune in, listen to our shows. I like to look at the statistics of the shows and people downloading and what shows have done better than others. And it's amazing how consistently all the shows can continue to get downloaded and listened to all the way back to my first one. So I really do appreciate it. I feel like we're doing something good here. I've received some nice feedback from people, and it motivates me to continue on. And we're charging into 2019, and I got to tell you, I have a full plate, but I could not be happier than where I'm at today. I've got some great projects. I'm working with some incredible people. I'm challenging myself. I'm getting out of my comfort zone and doing things that I just, I didn't see were possible. And I've got some great clients on my consulting side, on my life coaching side. And they probably don't understand this, but it is equally rewarding for me to be working with them and the things that we're doing, because it keeps me from getting in a rut and doing the same old thing. Many of you might remember from my first show, I talked about all my years at In-N-Out Burger. And although that was an incredible job, I made a great salary in my mid-20s. I mean, when I say great, it was over 150 grand a year at the time I left. But I was just bored. And, same thing every single day. And I got out of my comfort zone there. And I think I've been out of my comfort zone ever since. And I would like to be a testament to those people out there that are listening, that are thinking about making changes in their lives, are getting out of their comfort zone, that it's okay. You can go out there and say yes to things, and you would be surprised at how great the opportunities are out there, and you might just land into something that you thoroughly enjoy. You make enough money to be comfortable with your lifestyle and do all the things that you want to do, but you're not strapped down to something that you're not happy with. And, I've learned in this last year from my good friend David Meltzer about passion, purpose equals profitability. And for me, some of the things that I'm really passionate about are helping other people. We have our Baja United Wines business where we donate back to the orphanages in Mexico. I also have a passion for life coaching now, and that's fairly new for me. And I just thought, who's going to want to listen to me? But at the same time, I know that I have value. I'm 51 years old now, had a lot of great careers, and the people that I'm working with have not been there yet. And for me to be able to utilize my experience and teach them or help them get through some of the hurdles, I really am developing a passion for that. So if you're one of my clients, thank you for listening, and I appreciate you allowing me to be passionate about something. And I think that leads right into the purpose. And my purpose, I feel like in my life now, is about serving others, including my wife and my kids, and feeling good about that. And I absolutely have enjoyed it. And then finally, the profitability side, I have to say that through my new business ventures in the last 6 months, the profitability is exactly where I forecasted it to be. I've talked about goals before on the show, and what you believe is what you'll achieve, Mark Victor Hansen. Profitability. I set out what I felt like my monthly financial goals should be about 4 months ago. And I got to admit, I've adjusted that up several times based on the success of following my passion and purpose of helping others and, getting out of my comfort zone, doing some businesses that I might not have knew I had the strength to do it. And all of a sudden it's creating profitability for me in my own business and what I'm doing. And it still has allowed me to spend a lot of time with my kids. So I couldn't be any happier leading into 2019 with the things that I'm doing. I tell you this because I hope that you're listening and you realize that you can also be in the same position. And I'm not saying this from a position of trying to convince you through, leverage on anything. Most people that listen to the show I don't know. I just want you to know that there's somebody out there doing it, succeeding at it, and hope that you can do the same. Feel free to reach out to me if you've got questions about what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and I can do my best to guide you in the right direction. Speaking of comfort zone and doing things and getting out there, I've got an incredible interview today with Aaron Hale, who was a veteran, served for our country, and was injured in Afghanistan. And I just have a heart for these guys and ladies that have gone over and served our country, that have come back to this country with injuries that have changed their life in a terrible way, but yet they've turned it around to be incredible. And I find a lot of strength in that and listening to their passion and purpose. And today is no exception to that. Again, I want to thank everybody for their willingness to listen to the podcast, especially because most of these podcasts are call-in guests. It allows us, as I mentioned before, to have a variety of different people here because we can have them call in from the East Coast or around the world. If you listen to Monday's show, our Baja Sessions, Benji called in from London. So it does allow us to give some variety out there. And again, thank you for your willingness to accept that. And Aaron is just, what an incredible person. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to Aaron through our phone call together. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Hello and welcome to the Answers Yes podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Another episode today. We're happy to be on the line with you. We're in no longer sunny Southern California. It's nice and wet outside. I love having guests on that add value to our lives through the things that they've achieved or overcome. And today is no exception to that. And I have the pleasure and honor of having Aaron Hale on the line. Good morning, Aaron. How are you today?
I'm doing really well, and thanks for having me on, Jim.
I've had the advantage of looking through your website a little bit, and I think it's important to understand your history and some of the challenges that you have to overcome every day. But I think the real value you bring is overcoming challenges on a daily basis. And I know our listeners would want to hear from you about that. But can you just give us a brief background on your injuries and what got you to where you're at today?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a 14-year veteran of both the Navy and the Army. I enlisted in 1999 as a Navy chef. Spent 8 years cooking and traveling around Europe. Cooked for the admirals, the U.S. Sixth Fleet. And at some point, I was in Europe. I was floating around the Mediterranean. We were we had two wars in full swing, and there was something. I just felt a calling to do something a little more direct. Go onto the battlefield, go get into the mix, so to speak. And I decided that I was going to volunteer for the battlefield. So my first deployment, I volunteered as a Navy cook for an Army outpost, a foreign operating base in Farah, Afghanistan. So I went from cooking for the Admiral of the Sixth Fleet and his staff of about 25 to 30 or so to cooking for NATO troops of about 500 and 600. It was a big transition, kind of a culture shock. But while I was there, I met some really amazing people, a few Explosive Ordinance Disposal technicians, or EOD. They're the military's bomb squad. So they told me all about the community, about the type of job they do and the lives they get to save, and I was instantly hooked. I was turned on. This is an awesome job. So what I did is I put in my request for the Navy to transition from cook to bomb technician, and they said no. Apparently, cooking was too good. They didn't want to let me switch. The truth was that my field was and rank were undermanned, and they just weren't allowing any transitions. Plus, in the Navy at that time, EOD was more of a specialty than a job qualification. You've heard of NECs or MOSs. These are the job classifications. EOD was like a suffix. It was something they sent other guys to do. And they weren't taking the Navy cooks into the field. So my contract was at its end when I came back from Afghanistan the first time. So I let it run out, and I became a civilian for a moment. I went over to the Army recruiter, handed in my package, and they scooped me right up. I guess they'll just take anybody. But
Yeah.
I was soon training to be an EOD technician, and after the arduous training school at Eglin Air Force Base, I became a sergeant in the Army and a bomb tech. They sent me to Fort Drum, and I deployed to Iraq once and back to Afghanistan for a second tour in 2011. I was about 8 months into my 12-month rotation there when an IED had my name on it. And we were really busy. We were working their tails off the whole deployment. And I was just back from a 2-week R&R visiting back home, visiting family. I got to see my son turn 1, which is amazing. Got to spend Thanksgiving with the family, and even during that birthday celebration, witnessed my dad, my son's grandfather, dress up as Mickey Mouse, which is a once in a lifetime thing if you know my dad. But it's a terrific last entry in the photo album. So I was on the battlefield. I was working on an IED. I was approaching it, and about 20, 30 meters from the original IED, there was a secondary device that hadn't yet been discovered. Mm-hmm. That detonated, and it hit me smack in the head. It took my eyesight, it cracked my skull, blew out my eardrums, scars and burns and whatnot. The thing was, I didn't realize that I'd gone blind. I thought my helmet had gone pushed over my face. Uh-huh. So after doing the toe wiggles and fingers and knees and elbows and do a system check, I reached up to adjust my helmet just to find out that the helmet was gone. And the first thing I thought was, oh no, this is bad. The Army's going to want that back. So, it takes a rare breed to be an EOD, but that's just the first thought that went through my mind. Anyways, I was whisked off to Walter Reed within about 48 hours, and I was on my road to recovery. But it was at that time, realizing that I was going to be blind for the rest of my life. I had to face some really hard questions, and those demons, the what ifs and the why me's. How could it possibly happen to me? I was, the Army's elite bomb technician. I trained for years, and we're supposed to be better than the enemy, one step ahead. How did they get me? And what do I do now? So, I have a few things going for me. One is an incredible support system, friends, the brotherhood of the military and the EOD community, and an incredibly supportive family that just would not let me feel sorry for myself. Plus, the training alone, there are some absolutely key things that I learned in the military about training, about discipline, about hard work, that it just pushed me through. Of course, the few months into my recovery and surgeries, I was learning how to be a blind person, training with a cane, with all the assistive technologies that are out there. We live in an amazing time with talking computers, cell phones, and so I was learning all this technology, and I was trying to find out how to not just